Hello, everyone. Welcome to our October edition of Barhead Live. Thank you all for joining today. My name is Rishona, if you haven't met me before, and I work at Barhead, and I'm excited to be taking us through today our topic on how you can use the Copilot Studio at work. Maybe you're someone who has had to play around with Copilot Studio before. There's been some pretty cool things that you can do with it. And also this week, there have been some announcements as well of some new features that have come to the tool, which I only got announced like yesterday, I think. So I've tried to incorporate that as much as I could in the presentation today. The exciting thing about this topic is that it's always changing. It's something that Microsoft is investing quite heavily in. And there is, of course, a lot of exciting stuff to show you today. I wanted to take it today from the perspective of showing you what you can do with this tool in a work scenario. So with something like Copilot, you can use it, of course, as a Copilot or an agent, a bot that you can put out to the public to engage with, like on your website, a bot that people can go and ask questions to about your products, opening times, and things like that. But what I wanted to focus on today was to show you how easy it is using the generative AI capabilities that you can get in Copilot Studio to convert your existing content that you might have, like FAQ documents, your website, and you can sort of bring that into your agent that you're building with this and then put that out as something for your employees to use. And also, as we go throughout the session today, I can see your comments, and I'm seeing a few comments there. So I do not have many slides. I think I've probably got like 2 slides in total. Most of it is going to be a demo. So no, I won't be sharing a copy of the slides. But don't worry, you can catch the recording later, on which we will upload to our website, and we'll also share that out once it's ready, so you can go and watch it back. So a lot of today will be a live demo showing you how to build some stuff. It might be a bit difficult to remember. So yes, you can always go back and then rewatch it to see how I did things if you wanted to go and try this out for yourself. We have our Barhead team in the background too. So they'll be there to keep a watch of the chat, answer your questions as we go along, or let me know if there are any questions that I might have missed out on, as well as share some links that we'll distribute throughout the session today. All right, so I'll dive into just a quick overview into what Copilot Studio is, but then we'll get stuck into the bulk of it, which will be the demo for today. How you can turn your existing content into an agent. The terminology has changed a bit since I wrote the planned what this session was going to be. So before this thing that we build with Copilot Studio used to be called previously Power Virtual Agents, then got called Copilots that you can build with it. But now when I go into the system, they've updated it all to be an agent that you can create. So the agent is essentially the bot or the Copilot that we're building. You can connect it up to SharePoint as well as your existing data sources such as Dataverse. We'll show you how you can push this agent out to Microsoft Teams. So it's there on a platform that people can engage with regularly there in their chat within the Teams channels that they talk with, that they engage on. Show you some stuff with extending your agent with actions and plugins, and then a bit about some of the upcoming features as well. All right, so let's dive into it. So for those of you who don't know much about Copilot Studio to begin with, so it used to be called Power Virtual Agents. It started off as really a chatbot technology where, you could build a bot to put on like your website or in Teams for people to ask questions. And then you tell the bot exactly how it should respond to each of these questions that you've got. But now it's kind of transformed since that. And it's been very much AI focused instead. So the idea is that we're creating something like a Copilot. We can connect it up to sources that we have, and then it can generate answers, respond to things in real time, just by simply referring to those sources that we've linked it up to. So one way that you might be using this agent that you build with Copilot Studio can be for managing your internal processes that you might have at work. For example, you might have your HR questions or HR policies that people need to keep referring to. You can easily convert that into an agent that can provide the answers to people about, leave requests, submitting leave requests on their behalf, or something such as IT support. like I'll show you today, the ability to log tickets, look up any tickets that you might have submitted, and find out any information that you might need about that, such as who's the best person to contact and how to handle things. All right, so I wanted to start off by, in terms of the demo, showing you what I've built for what we're going to be going through today. So you can see what it looks like from the end user perspective. And then we'll dive into each of the different parts that we built out. And we're going to start off by showing you how you can build out this agent that's grounded in your existing sources, whether that's your internal sources, like SharePoint site. You might have a bunch of files sitting in there that relate to FAQs that you want to reference. Could be in OneDrive as well. How you can hook it up to other sources such as Dataverse or Dynamics 365. And even your public websites that you have, you can hook it up to that. The demo that I'll take you through today is an example of an IT support request agent that we can create. So we'll start off by showing you what it looks like in Teams, and then we'll build out each part of it. All right, so up here, I've got my agent that I've built out, and I'll start off just by showing you what I've got it to do. So it sits here, I've named it Tech Support within Microsoft Teams for me. So as an employee, I can come in and then talk to this agent to really retrieve and do what I need. Here are some of the things I could do. It could just be I need to go and ask a question on how to do something. So we can pop our question in there, such as, who do I contact for printer-related issues? And then in a moment, we should get our agent respond to us. And then we'll test it out with a couple of examples. All right, so here it's telling me that I need to contact this person. Can I install software on my computer myself? Let's give it another question. So I'll talk about, after I've demoed it, where exactly it's getting this information from that I'm asking these questions. Here we've just got some FAQ examples, but what if we wanted it to, what's another thing that we can get it to do? Check on any open tickets that we might have. Let's try that. Let's ask, what tickets do I have open? So another part of it that we'll look at building is how it can look and tap into your data sources to recover information. In this case, we've got some tickets or records that are created in Dataverse. So here it's told me what I've got open. Actually, before I move on to the next one, I might show you just where it's pulling it from. So first of all, if I go up here to these FAQ ones, or just those generic questions that I asked, these ones are coming from SharePoint. So what I've got here, which is probably a common thing across most organizations, I would say right now, would be you might just have a SharePoint site. And in that site, you might have a bunch of files that generally people might need to go and read through in order to find the answers that they want. So here's an example of the ones that I've hooked this agent up to. So we simply just got, some common questions with the responses here. We've got another file as well. So it doesn't just have to be one file you hook it up to. You can have plenty. So this one's telling us a bit about who we can contact depending on the topic. So you can see there where our agent has been pulling the information from. It's been referring to the SharePoint files that we've hooked up to it. Then the other one that I did here, what tickets do I have open? This is coming from Dataverse. So if you're not familiar with Dataverse, you might currently be a Dynamics 365 user. It's essentially the same database as Dynamics 365. So, if you're using something like Dynamics Sales, Customer Service, you can do something exactly similar to this. But I've just hooked it up to a place that I've created in order to store different tickets that people at our company might be submitting, as a way for us to manage that. So over here, it's pulling information from Dataverse. And over here, I've got my app that is where all these tickets are. So it's looking up which ones have I created to recover that to me in the conversation. And finally, the other thing that we can get our agent to do here is to submit a request on our behalf. And the example I've used here is, let's say that we need to submit, or we want to request a new asset or a new device. Let's give that one a go. So now we're going to see this agent taking action on our behalf. So we've got some processes running in the background here. After, of course, it gets a bit more information from me in order to process that request. So let's say what device I want. Let's say a Surface. And then it should be asking me for some additional details. All right, so now after I've submitted that, we've got a process running in the background that's going to go and send off an approval request to my manager. But the other thing that it's done is that we've also hooked it up to our app, which is connected to, which is on Dataverse. And where's the one I just did? Looks like it was probably that one there. So you can see here that it's gone and it's created that record. And it will process some changes too. So I'm my own manager in this case. I've got that notification pop up to let me know the details of what was just submitted. I can approve or reject that. Let's be nice and approve it. And in a moment, there you go. You can see that we've returned back to the conversation that telling us that it's been approved. And now jumping back into our application, we can see that we've also got it to update the approval status over there. Now let's dive into how this was all built. And it was actually a lot easier than what you might think, especially the first few steps of simply just connecting it up to your data sources. So the first thing that we did here is that we got it to look at our SharePoint documents. We'll start off by creating a new, we'll start off from scratch this time, and we'll create a new bot just to show you what that experience is like. By the way, the stuff that I show you today, you can go and try this out on your own. Towards the end of the session, we'll share some links to like resources that you can use, and also a type of free environment that you could create if you want to go and give this a go after today. All right, so I'm over here in Copilot Studio. This Copilot Studio website is where we do all of our building for it. So over here, I can see all of the different agents that I've got. You can have an agent for different purposes. You can see here, in this case, I've got one just specifically for the job of tech support. Depending on whatever roles you might have, you might create an agent that's specific to a project that you're working on that answers things and runs processes based on that. You could have one based on customer service or sales. And you can even extend the Copilot in Microsoft 365. That's the chat that you might be accessing via Teams that can look at everything across the Microsoft graph, such as your emails, your files. You can also create custom agents and insert it within this Copilot for Microsoft 365 to extend it. But to show you the process, let's go ahead and create a new agent. Something I quite like is that when you start to build it out, it begins with this chat that helps you to construct how you want your bot to interact. So you can kind of get it up and running, just with these basic configuration steps for it to set it up. So it's just a conversation. I do want to create a bot for managing my IT processes, but I might not exactly be sure what to write here. If you're not sure exactly how to describe it, you can even just tell it up front that I'm not exactly sure what I should write here if I want to create an IT support Copilot. So you can kind of work with it to construct what you want. Let's go through this and see if we can get our agent set up. So here it's given me an idea of the way that I could describe my bot. Let's say we're happy with that. All right, it's giving us some names. IT support assistant sounds a bit boring to me. Let's ask it for some other ideas. Of course, if you already know what you want to call it, you can, of course, just use that. I like to see what it suggests, though. I was testing this before. It came up with some pretty interesting one. Oh, it came up with the same suggestions, I think, that I tested before. I like this one, IT Genie. Let's use that. So now, the other things that we can do here, we've kind of so far just told it how we want the bot to interact. So the stuff that we're doing here, it's using this as a guideline on how the generative AI is going to respond in terms of what certain things can it answer. Is there a particular tone that it should be responding in? Should it be using emojis? So you can get a bit creative here to try and tailor it to the type of language that you might use in your organization. You know, if you're more informal or formal, you can give it those instructions over here. So now it's saying what it should focus on. So I'll just say answer IT requests. You can say things you don't want it to do. Don't respond to other things, such as HR related topics. I might just skip this one for now. So you can connect it up to your just any public website simply just by putting in the link, and then it can use that as a way for where it might be looking for its information. We won't do the website one today, but we will do it later on when we connect it up to SharePoint instead. I find that one's probably a bit more interesting for something internal that you might be building. The other thing that I wanted to add here is to tell it about the tone it should use. So let's tell it to keep a friendly tone and try and use a step-by-step format. You can use emojis if you want to make it interesting. I think that should be all we need after that. I think we're happy with that. Let's go ahead and get to the configuration part now. But, you know, the bulk of it is done in terms of the language that it will use. All we need to do now is just hook it up to our SharePoint site, and then we should have it good to go. Just while that is in the process of getting created, I just want to jump back over into Copilot Studio just to show you around in terms of some of the things that we can do here, in case if you're new to it. While we wait for that to be created, hopefully it doesn't take too long. Hopefully it's not stuck. Don't have to do all that again. If it is, I just create it from scratch again. All right, so over here, I'll just open up one that I've done before, but what we've got is we're in our agent. So first thing that we can do is that we can connect it up to the knowledge sources. So over here, I've hooked it up to things like Dataverse, SharePoint. These are the ones that are available right now, in addition to just any public website. But also, if you've just got a file you want to upload here, you can simply just drag and drop it, and then it can get the content from that too. Actions I'll demonstrate later. It's how you can start to get your get your agent. Now I need to start getting in the zone of calling in an agent. How you could get your agent to connect up to your other systems that you might use. So what I demoed before was it connecting up to, the approvals, to Dynamics 365 or to Dataverse. But it also works with your non-Microsoft things as well, like ServiceNow, Jira. You can get the weather come through as well if you're interested in that. So the overview is where we can just sort of set what do we want the bot to do? What sources will it get the information from? Same thing, that's the knowledge area here where the agent is pulling in information. Topics are where you can tell the bot, you can tell the code. Here we go again. You can tell the agent how to respond in certain scenarios. So if you know exactly what a question is going to be, how you want the bot to respond, or maybe point it to a specific point in your source to go and get the answer from, then the topics allow you to tailor that a lot more in terms of what the bot does and how it responds. We've got an analytics area too. Mine is probably going to be quite empty right now because this one, we recently created it, but eventually you do start to, oh no, there is some stuff here. You do start to get some statistics come through in terms of how the bot is engaging with people. Are they reaching the end of the conversations? And then we've got the different channels that we can deploy our bot to. And today we'll post it over into Microsoft Teams. And oh no, our IT Genie is stuck. You know what? I'll just go and create this one again without going through those steps. But let's go create a new one. We'll just go straight to configuring it this time. So generally you do want to type in the description and the instructions there, but just for the purpose of time, we'll just go ahead and create it with the name. And then I'll show you how you can hook it up to SharePoint. So really all you need to connect it up to SharePoint is just the link to the SharePoint site. It's very easy. So if I go ahead and open up SharePoint here, in my IT support site, I've got the documents that I would like to connect to. So I can just go and grab the URL off the site. All right, we've got IT Genie over here. And now we can add it as a knowledge source. SharePoint, put in that URL, add. All right, and now, once that's done, let's give it a test. Let's ask, how do I contact IT? So in a lot of cases, this might be all that you need to do. Simply just build your agent that's able to recover information in a conversation coming from your existing content that you have. So we will take it a step further by connecting it up to the other stuff, but this might be what you're happy with. So if this is all that you wanted to do, just get it connected to your SharePoint files. It could be that it's ready to just go ahead and publish out. So once that your agent is ready, you can publish it. And then I'll show you how you can add it to Microsoft Teams. Every time you make a change, by the way, this is the building side of it. And then if you want to push that out to people, if they're already using the agent, you just need to make sure that you hit publish again for that to happen. And while that's publishing out, so what it will do is that it will add it, people can add it as an app in Teams. So I've got it here sitting as an app on its own at the side that I can go and access. The other place is that it sits in your chats. It's a bit like, just talking to a colleague. You can add it to a team, which is quite useful if you want to bring it into a conversation that you're having with other people. So rather than having it as a private chat, what you can do is simply just mention that agent. Post it. So every time you mention the agent, it will have that conversation in the context of a channel instead. All right, I think IT Genie published. So let's head over into channels. I want to push this out to Microsoft Teams. I'll turn that on. There are just some basic details you can edit here that you want. I won't do it right now, but the description is what employees will see when they're looking to install it. So it's a good idea to write a description here so people know what the agent is going to do and what the purpose is. So when it's published, you have a few ways that you can share it out. Either you can just simply open it up and then you can start talking to it. You can then add it, and then we'll see here that I've got it there for myself to talk with. But you can also share it, of course, out with other people. As a link, you can share it with specific people, or you can publish it as an app for your organization where it's going to be sitting there in the apps area. Anyone in your org can go and install it and start using it, which something like this scenario would be ideal where everyone can go and access it. So where's our IT genie? Let's see if it's there yet. There we go. We've got IT Genie ready. And just as easy like that, you have your agent ready to go. Let me go back to what we're demoing today. So that's how we can do our SharePoint files. So next, let's look at the part of where we were getting it to recover that ticket information. So it just depends where you might have your tickets stored. The one that's supported at the moment is that your agent is able to recover information coming from Dataverse, which, by the way, if you use Dynamics 365, then it's the same thing. With Dataverse, though, it's just my own sort of table, my own application that I built as somewhere to store these different tickets that my employees might be raising. So we can do that quite easily too, just by using the added knowledge capability that's in here. Let's show you how you can do that. We've already connected up to SharePoint. Let's add another knowledge source. But this time we'll pick Dataverse. So what it will do is that these are a range of the different tables that you have. It could be something like leads, opportunities, contacts, cases, but oh, here we go. It even suggested one for me, my one called IT support tickets. So what it will do is that it's going to connect to that table. We can set some parameters around it as well in terms of making it more recoverable in the chat, adding things like a glossary, different synonyms and terminology that people might be using to help teach the agent in the different ways people might be talking, but it means the same thing. Go and get this field or go and recover this record from there, depending on what we say. So I'll just skip this for now in terms of adding the synonyms and the glossary. Oh, actually, let me just show you anyway. So I've got a Dataverse table. These are the different fields that I've added to it. So when I'm connecting it to it, you can see it's recovering that, but I can add some synonyms to make it, if I'm just having a natural conversation with the agent. So another word for ticket number might be case number. So you can go through and then build that out. But for the purpose of time, we'll just keep that as it is there. And just while we're waiting for that to load, we've got a question. Is there a way to see what people are saying to the bot? Yes, you can. So from the analytics area, see if I can jump there over now. So from the analytics, you sort of get those insights into how the bot is performing, what's the rate of it, the conversations being completed. But if you wanted to go and see what people are saying, like get the transcripts, then you can grab that over in the sessions area. Oh, that one is empty. Let me go to my other, I'll open up my other bot so I could show you there, one that actually has some stuff in it. So this is the one that I had published beforehand. So it will actually have some content in it when we want to look at it. Here you go. So you get the session data that you can go and export. You can update the date range. It's simply just a CSV file that will have the transcripts there for you. So it's a good way to go back if you wanted to go and see exactly what are people saying to the bot. And then you can use that as a way to, determine what are the common things that people are raising. Should we be handling this a different way? So it's great for those types of insights as a way to keep improving how the bot performs. Question from Frank, what GPT models are available within Copilot? Is it the O1 available? So not at this stage, but it is on the roadmap though. So at the moment, with Copilot Studio itself, it is essentially just the text that's there. But the technology that this is based on is Microsoft Azure AI, which already has those capabilities built into it. It is on the roadmap, though, that will be coming in here. So eventually what you will be able to do from Copilot Studio itself is the ability for it to process things like images. So, you can upload a photo, it can read the text from it, or it can tell you what's in that image, as well as things like video too, eventually. So at the moment, that is available on the technology that this is built on top of, which is Azure AI, but not exactly in Copilot Studio just yet. Let's go back to our Dataverse table here. So all I did was simply just connect it up to that Dataverse table. So now let's see if we can start to get some answers about that. So I'll ask it about our tickets. What tickets do I have? And then, nice, take its time there. But there we go. So it's given us what we would expect, where we've got those 2 tickets that I'm the one who raised them. And finally, let's get to the last one now. This is where it gets a bit more interesting. How we can connect this up to other things, get it to do what we want. This is where I demoed it, sending out that approval request, creating that new asset request for us, and then updating the record. So this is where the agent can really take control, perform things on your behalf. It's not just simply, a conversation that you might have. It can connect up to different systems. In this case, we're using Power Automate, but there are some built-in plugins that you can have with Copilot Studio that sort of already work natively with this too. I'll show you a bit about how that works. In this case, I will open up the one that I've done beforehand to show you what I've done. Where's our... Let's go back to the agent, our tech support agent. When you're in Copilot, you've got this actions area. So an action is something that your agent is going to do on your behalf. When you create your action, you have some general ones here, like it can do stuff such as connect up to your Excel spreadsheets, retrieve information from that, connect up to MSN Weather, get info from that, send out emails. But if you wanted to have a bit more flexibility with it, then you can use Power Automate, which allows you to connect up to over 1,000 different data connectors. So this is your non-Microsoft tools, something like ServiceNow, Facebook, Google Suite, as well as all of your Microsoft things too. So I've already gone and I've created one here. I will just open it up to show you what that one looks like. So essentially what we've done is we've used Power Automate to build out this process, and that's considered an action in the bot. So our action has certain inputs that it needs to receive in order to process it. These inputs I've listed here. It needs to get what's the email of the user who submitted it, what's the name of the device that they want to request, and do they have a description or details that we can add to it, because this is the information that we want to run through the process that we've built. So what my flow here is doing is I want this to run in the background. So people can, with this step in the middle, people can simply just continue talking to the agent while this is running in the background. So this is what this respond to does. You can also use this as a way to return any information back to the user that you might have done throughout this process. Like maybe, get them a ticket number and then send that back to the chat. So what my agent will do is it already knows who the user is because we're using it in Microsoft Teams. So it's going to go and get the details of that user based on their email address, go and retrieve their manager. So we've used the Office 365 connector in order to find who someone's manager is. And then over here, we've got the Dataverse connector. So this is the same one that you'll use for if you're working with Dynamics 365. It will create a new record, which will list out the name of the device, who requested it, as well as those additional details that we've got. Send off an approval request to that manager that we retrieved in the earlier step with the details. And then we've got some branching here where it's going to go and, based on the outcome of that approval, go and update that record that we have, and then send us a Teams message back into that conversation with the agent. Similar stuff on the other side, except, of course, it's going to be a different message that we send, and then a different update of the status of the ticket. So what you do here is essentially you build out that process that I've just shown you, and then you can tell the agent what type of inputs it should use. So the old way would have been that you need to go and build out step by step. Each question, the user needs to type it in. You don't need to do that anymore. The agent is able to determine, based on these inputs that you've listed out, what does it need out of the conversation. So if I say to the agent, I want to submit a device, I want to request a device like I just did there, it can take a look at each of these things, and then you can give it some guidelines on where should it get that information from. So here I've told it to, first of all, use the email address of whoever is talking to the bot. But then also I want the agent to go and ask to find what's the name of the device, and then what's the description of it if it can't already find that information. So it's intelligent enough to know exactly what information does it have, what does it need in order to process this request. So by adding these actions like this, you're able to get your agent to go out there and perform all of these tasks on your behalf, which makes it a lot better than just simply having a conversation with it, if it can actually complete tasks for you. We've got a little bit of time left. So with the last few minutes that we have, I wanted to just talk a bit about this new thing that was announced this week. Did anyone catch the business applications launch event that happened this week? So it was about an hour presentation. In one of the links that we'll share, we've got the blog that you can read, which was about this announcement on autonomous agents. So what I showed you was what's available at the moment, but eventually this is going to be extended where these agents can run on their own without you really needing to be the one initiating it. They're autonomous agents that will be coming to Dynamics 365. So if you happen to use Dynamics Sales, Customer Service, then this example in the video that I've got here is one that will be coming to Customer Service. And this autonomous agent, the idea of it is that it's able to help you as an agent to resolve your cases. So if you're working on a case, you're responding to a customer, it can start to suggest how's the best way to resolve that issue with them. It can suggest new knowledge articles for you too. If it might notice that, oh, maybe this article is a bit out of date, it can start to suggest you need to review this, and then it can generate what those changes are and then what that article should be. So we will see a lot of new announcements for this. The next live session that we're doing, in fact, is going to be on what's been announced at Microsoft Ignite, which will be the session that we run towards the end of November. So I'll expect that there'll be a lot more that we'll be able to talk about then in terms of the new autonomous agents that will be coming out. And then you can, of course, create your own custom ones as well, where let's say, you've got employee that needs to be onboarded. The autonomous agent, you give it some instructions on what it needs to do. Like, this employee is new, they need to order a new device. So then that agent can go through the process of ordering that device for them. And then the agent might also be aligning them with a buddy that they might need on their first few days. So it automates those processes that you might have in the context of like a conversation that you're having with the agent, and can run all these processes in the background too. I just noticed a question that we've got there. How can you get better answers? Can you teach the agent rules on how to respond? Yes, that is possible. Let me just jump back over here. So what I showed you before with, answering questions based on what sources you've hooked it up to, you might encounter occasions where it's not really generating what you'd expect or what you want. So in that case, using topics, you can sort of manually tell it how it should respond in certain scenarios. If you find that there's an answer, that there's a question that, you want it to answer a particular way, you can go ahead and create a topic. And then based on that, you can tell it what it should do. So if someone says something like, if someone wants to ask for contact details, respond with this. You can also put in particular phrases that they might use as well. So, if you know the key things that people mention, it will direct them here. So you can build out that conversation using these nodes where you can type in exactly what questions should be asked, what message should be there. But you can hook it up to the generative, to your sources as well. So if you go and you hook it up to generative answers, you can specify which source you want that to come from. So in this case, let's say I only want it to pull it from our support site. We can do that. And then you can add instructions here. You can say, do not mention, let's say, John, in the response, if that's someone who might be on the FAQ page, but we don't want that mentioned. Suggest other people. So this is where you can kind of tell it, don't say this instead, and give it those guidelines if it's not answering exactly the way that you want. We packed a lot into this session, but we would love to hear your feedback about what you thought about it. I feel like there is a lot to talk about Copilot Studio. Maybe we'll probably do another topic on this one in the future as well. So the next one that we do will be on the announcements from Ignite. So chances are that there'll be a lot of Copilot announcements there as part of that too. But leave your feedback. Let us know as well if there are particular topics that you're interested in, because we're planning to run a session like this every month after November when we start back again next year. So keen to hear what everyone would like to see. So the links will be posted in the chat. You might need to go onto LinkedIn, I think, in order to see the chat. Otherwise, I'm not sure if we've got someone on our team who can also post it as a YouTube comment as well, if people are watching on there instead. Otherwise, yeah, it should be on our LinkedIn event. So other links I wanted to share, which will be shared with you in the chat, is this is a developer plan that you can sign up for. Got some instructions there. It's like your own personal space where you can go and try to build things out. If you want to try what I've shown you today, just follow the instructions to create this environment. And then we've also got the link to Copilot Studio where you can go and do the actual building of it. We've got some links to Microsoft Learn, which will give you some extra documentation to help you as you're building it out. And we can also support you with this, we have a few different training programs that we run focused on Power Platform, as well as stuff just on Copilot Studio if you're keen. So this might be a great way to upskill your team, upskill yourselves on what you can achieve with Copilot Studio and get people building stuff that you can start using at work. So we've got a link to where you can contact us to find out about our different training programs. If you're in Sydney, then we've got our monthly AI meetup coming up on the 14th of November. So this is a monthly networking event that we run where it will be great to meet you if you happen to be in Sydney. Come for networking. We've got a presentation on AI as well. We've shared a link to our Barhead calendar where you can go and find the URL to register. We've got a few other events happening as well. So I believe if you take a look through our calendar, we've got another Copilot in-person session that will be in Melbourne later in November too, as well as our next Barhead Live, which will be on the 27th of November, all about Microsoft Ignite. If you haven't registered for Ignite, by the way, we've got the link for that. If you definitely sign up, I'm sure there'll be a lot of cool and interesting new things that they'll be announcing over that conference. And we've got the recap for you with this next Barhead Live event. And with that said, thank you so much, everyone, for coming along today. Hopefully you've learnt a lot. Definitely keep in contact with us on LinkedIn. You can connect with myself on LinkedIn too if you'd like to hear about all the latest and greatest features to do with Power Platform and Dynamics 365. So thanks again. Keep a lookout for our recording. We'll post it on our Barhead LinkedIn if you would like to go back and rewatch any of this. Thanks again, and looking forward to seeing you at our next Barhead Live session.